Shining brightly, this insectoid behemoth is armed with deadly radiant attacks, so today I'm here to hopefully shed some light on how to take on Rezakiri in this week's Behemoth Breakdown. Preparing for this hunt, there will be a few things you want to learn. To start, this behemoth spends most of its time hovering in the air, making it very difficult to hit certain parts. Luckily, Reza will briefly expose itself after using many radiant-based attacks, so make good use of this opening to hit the head or other hard-to-reach spots. As for the parts, you can break the claws, the head, legs, tail, and the tail gem. Any parts broken will force Reza to land and remain on the ground for a short time. This behemoth also has both an enraged and aether charge state. Its enrage will increase the behemoth's attack speed, and Reza's aether charge state will increase the amount of radiant orbs used. The enraged state also encases players in a radiant dome when it enters this state, so you must attack this dome to quickly break free. As for the attacks, here are the moves you will come across as you battle against this radiant terror. During its flight, the behemoth will crash to the ground, crushing players underneath. This move is extremely common to see after using its radiant beams. It's also very important to pay attention to when Reza will drop, since this attack has 3 different types of slams that can be distinguished based on the animation used. The first version, Reza will raise its body up before dropping down. This animation is a standalone move and doesn't act as a follow-up attack. The second, the behemoth will just simply drop to the ground without the windup of the first version. This is the most common animation to see, but it's only used after its radiant attacks. The last is when Reza enters its aether charge state or its enraged state. Be aware that the tail will hit slightly after the body impacts the ground, so watch your position and the 2 separate timings. Spreading its wings, Rezakiri will release a bullet storm of orbs at the players. There are 2 types of patterns for this attack. The first will have the orbs hover above the ground and fly in the direction of the slayers. You can either stay back and let the ball spread out so it's easier to avoid, or if you're up close, quickly get next to Reza's tail. Just be careful when up close, since these orbs will be very compact and much harder to avoid. The second pattern, Reza's orbs will rain down at an angle. This version is difficult to avoid if you're slightly off to the sides, but if you're directly in front of the behemoth, it's surprisingly easy to avoid when running towards Reza. And after using this move, the behemoth oftentimes becomes exhausted and left open to attacks. Raising its tail off the ground, a powerful set of rays will fire from the behemoth's tail. This attack has 2 different firing forms, one when the players are up close and one for those further away. Both of these forms will have their own set of laser patterns, which can change as the slayers progress through the fight. If you're up close and Reza uses its close range beams, try to dodge right when the beams will fire. You will avoid all of them and allow yourself to prepare for the next attack. At longer range, when Rezakiri uses the long range beams, take your time to analyze and dodge the attack. If you're in a group, do not, and I repeat, do not run away from the beams. Instead, stay within a certain parameter and time your dodge. This method will not only help you, but also keep your teammates from getting caught in the crossfire. Slightly backing up and lifting the tail, the behemoth will swing its tail in a full circle. You can avoid this attack by dodging through the tail, or if you're fast enough, you can run past Reza and get outside of its range. Swooping down, Reza will attack the player with its sharp claws. This move could be used multiple times in a row, so make sure you have enough stamina available. The tail during this attack can hit you, so if you're dodging towards the attack, dodge at an angle to avoid the risk of getting hit by the tail. It's dangerous during the rush, especially at the end of its sweep when it whips around. Firing 3 shots of radiant orbs as it briefly moves around, this attack can be used multiple times in a row. Luckily, this attack is kinda inaccurate, so avoiding it should be fairly easy, but when trapped in a dome, this move can be a little troublesome. It's also common to see this move used when Reza wants to close the distance between the slayers. One of the 2 moves only used when the behemoth is on the ground. Rezakiri will take one of its claws and swing it backwards. It's a simple attack that can be easily avoided by either taking a few steps back or by a well-timed dodge. This ground-only attack, Rezakiri will shift its tail to one side before swinging both its body and tail. Stay near the head if you can, but don't get too close since its claws are still able to inflict damage. If possible, stay away from the tail if you can, because as it shifts around, it's capable of hitting you on either side of the tail. Spinning its tail and releasing radiant flash bombs, the player will be blinded and teleported inside a radiant dome. Rezakiri then will unleash a barrage of beams and orbs in order to wipe out all the Slayers. Your goal is to break out of the dome and get out of the Behemoth's range as fast as possible. Rezakiri is one of the tougher Behemoths you'll come across, so hopefully all the information I have given you will aid you in your next Rezakiri encounter. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see you in Dauntless.